the moment I was in there and we saw the set, it was like, we looked at each other like, we're going to have fun. And that was all like, that was just it. For me anyway, like, I didn't really know what it means or what it now means to represent England as an esports gamer.
At what point, Matt, did you think that one defender was the way to go?
Now, you don't put this on him. Do not put this on him.
I'm not.
My whole thing was like, I'm not going home with no regrets whatsoever. And that was just my whole thing. Like, you've got this opportunity now to show them who Aaron is.
He clearly had no idea when he came out dancing with his flag for the national anthem. The man brought the vibes.
Yeah, but the thing is, what you don't see. All week, wasn't it? Well, yeah, but what you don't see about that is the fact that he'd been stood behind the stage on the stairs with a flag for 40 minutes.
I genuinely just don't know what happened. I don't know what got over me that weekend. I literally just felt 13 again, literally.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the FM Show. I'm your host Tony Jameson, joined as always by my right hand man Aaron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics, aka 1 quarter of England Gaming. We have a guest, Aaron. We've gone from 1 quarter to 1 half of Team England. Everybody say hello to Second Yellow Card. Matt, Aaron, how are you both?
Tired. Knackered.
I expected that was going to be the answer from the start. Let's give a bit of context as to why these two are as tired as they are, and also why we're saying it's a half of Team England. So, at time of recording, we'll break this down for you now. It's Tuesday evening. These two haven't got a clue what day it is. It's Tuesday evening, okay? For the last week, Aaron and Matt, along with Jack, Work the Space, and Tom FM, have been representing England in the FIFAe World Cup featuring Football Manager.
Got it right.
That's
well played.
Not a bad little thing to stick on the CV, and for me to say it correctly for the first time.
It's really not, man. It is really not. It's definitely going on the top of the CV as well. Going on every part. Education. I was the esports manager.
Current employment.
Oh my god!
I mean, where do we begin? Like, should we start and let's start and roll the whole thing back, because to open up for, you've just represented England at FIFAe World Cup featuring Football Manager. I mean, let's work out how we get to this point from the first instance. So, Matt, you maybe knew about it first.
Yeah, I think so. Because this goes back to early June. So there I am. I just finished stream, chilling out, playing a bit of Rocket League with some friends, and I get a DM from a Mr. The Work the Space, and it just literally says, "Do you want to go on an adventure?" Which is strange because, you know, Jack and I, we don't talk that often, so it was a very strange message to get out of the blue. And obviously I was like, well, sure, but like, can you tell me more? And obviously he couldn't because of NDAs and whatnot. But essentially, he's like, it involves going to Switzerland. And I'm just, at this point, I am completely in, because why wouldn't you, right? And so it turns out essentially that the company that was doing some adverts for FIFAe, in this case, had a creator, don't know who that was, drop out of doing them because they couldn't make it. So they were looking for someone else. And Jack basically just went through his Rolodex of people and went, right, well, who doesn't have kids, isn't married, would have time, and would be willing to drop things at the drop of a hat and go to Switzerland in 24 hours notice? And he landed on me. And obviously I said yes, thus justifying his opinion. And so 24 hours later, I'm sat here on my desk trying to like get a screenshot of a flight thingy just so that I can get my booking sorted, because I didn't even find out what my flights were until the day before. And so I was off to Switzerland and no idea really what we're doing. I'd had a couple of like conference calls briefly during the day just to sort of get an idea of the vague stuff, but essentially it was a case of, you're going to go to Switzerland, you're going to film an advert for FIFAe's World Cup featuring Football Manager. And I thought, that's really, really cool. Get to do a bit of acting, get to sit on a toilet, you know, normal stuff. So we go out there, do some shooting for the full day in Switzerland, fly out in the morning, do the shooting all day in Zurich, fly back in the evening. Absolutely terrifying as far as like, I've never flown on my own as an adult or a child. That would be weird if I was flown as a child. at all at any point. So that was quite a big thing for me in many ways. I was like, screw it, I'm in, let's go. And so we did that. I sat on a toilet. That became a thing, and that, of course, became the advert, which I'm sure a lot of you have now seen, which is me sat on a toilet advertising this tournament. Obviously, Jack did his wonderful advert in the restaurant, notably fully clothed. And I suspect that I drew the short straw on that one. I'm starting to wonder if there even was another creator.
I'm surprised that the toilet was even part of it, because you were straight in going, is there a toilet here? Because I've got an idea.
Literally. So then I'm like, oh, that's cool. And they're like, oh, we'll do some follow-up work maybe or something like that. And then I didn't hear anything. Did a little bit of consultancy of just like, oh, here's some idea for the rules and that. And then that was that. And then I got a DM from Aaron. And maybe he should pick up the story here.
Yeah, I don't know. So first I just kept getting messages from FIFA. So first I got a first message, but it was during streaming, so I was like, I'm going to ignore it for now because I'm not going to answer it while I'm streaming. And then I'm not going to lie, after the stream I totally forgot about it. Then the next day I got another email, and it's again FIFA but it's under a different name. So I'm like, alright, now this is a bit sketchy now, like, because I tend to get these emails like, hey, do you want to be a sponsor, blah, 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 blah. And then the next day it will be like the same company but a different name, and it's fairly a dodgy email sort of thing. So I just ignored it. And then the days go by, and I get a message from Jack. It's like, hey, man, you need to reply to your emails. Like, instantly. So I went to my emails, and then this time I saw a FIFA E, but this time it was from England Gaming. So I was like, oh, okay then. And he's like, do you want to have a phone call, blah, 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 blah. So I just ran back to Jack. I was like, what is happening? He's like, not going to say much, but hope to see you in Liverpool. But by this time, I still don't know that. I don't know the World Cup of things in Liverpool. So I'm thinking, like, I'm similar to him. I'm like, what is going on? But then it was, when I answered, when we had the Zoom phone call, that's when it's like, he told me, yeah, do you want to be the England Gaming manager? Obviously, Jack's put your name in the hat, blah, 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 blah. I was like, what is happening? So I just said yes. But again, it's one of those things when you say yes, and he's still talking. And in my head, I'm just thinking, I'm going to the World Cup with England. So I don't understand what, after that, my head it was gone by then, yeah. But it was like, yeah, pick an assistant manager. Sorry, he's like, pick an assistant manager. And then just from there, I was just trying to think on the spot, because I just want things to go quickly. So I was just like, oh yeah, second yellow card. I mean, he done the FIFA E advert. It kind of sort of makes sense to bring him along as well. He's like, all right, I'm going to contact him now. I was like, no, wait. Let me think about it. Let me see if there's any other names. Would you like chill? I'll get back to you. He's like, please try and get back as soon as you can. And it was just that evening. I was just going through everything, and I'm just like, it just has to be him. Because it was weird, because it's like, you're trying to think of an assistant manager, but you have no idea how anything is. And I'm just like, I need someone that is just totally chill. Someone that's just totally chill. And it just made sense just to stick with him. So, yeah, I never ever expected to have the relationship that I had with him while we was there. It's completely insane. Completely insane.
There's a couple of bits in that story which, like, are incredible. So, like, Matt, you first of all get to go to Switzerland when Jack gets in touch. And then Aaron gets to go to Liverpool. So we obviously don't trust Aaron on a plane at this point.
Oh man, but it's just like, I didn't know the event was in like, you don't know much about the event. You just see what I saw was just on the end of the blog post, and it was like, if you want to be a part of it, then sign up. And I don't know if should I tell this story? So so when I signed up, right? Yeah. So when I signed up, right, I put my nationality as Jamaican, because remember we all had that joke, right? Like,
yeah, we did.
There's so many people that's in England. Like, there's no way we're gonna be selected out of millions of people, whatever. So it's just like, what other cheeky way can we get into this World Cup? So it's just like, I'm just gonna apply as Jamaica. Obviously, not knowing that FIFA has to invite these FAs and stuff, like, you don't know these sort of things. And then, yeah, when I got that phone call, as soon as I said yes, I would exit that Zoom call, went to FIFA GG, changed my nationality. I'm fully English now.
You didn't even get to play one friendly before changing nationality. You were straight, just straight, like at the post box. You know, like when they're doing The Simpsons, going, "Oh, my name is Mr. Burns. I believe you've got a letter
You have
for
a
me."
letter for me.
Yeah, literally.
Your first name, please? I don't know.
So yeah, that was, oh man, insane.
Because we'd mentioned that was the Zealand episode, wasn't it? When we were talking about the
Yes.
nationality thing.
Yes.
And there's a few people, and I'm going to mention now, because obviously there'll be some people going, oh, you get to pick an assistant manager. Matt, of course, by the way, the best choice,
Yes.
understandably, like, without a doubt. There was a few messages during the weekend saying, how come TJ wasn't the assistant manager? And I responded on your behalf and said that basically, if I was there, I would have ruined it for you. So it was probably the best thing. I would have been nothing short of a hindrance to your chances of winning.
But it's difficult, right? Because, like, obviously, that's one big thing. It was to try and exclude friends from it because I just knew that was going to be, like, an emotional pick.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been, why not Tony? And then I could be streaming and or be in Zim's chat and people be like, why not Zims? Because obviously people know that I'm close with Zims as well.
Yeah.
So I knew that could have happened. So it was just like, I'm not going to pick a friend because it's silly, but you should don't know. Obviously, we know each other through the internet, through behind computer screens. We don't chill with each other 24 hours a day. So even though like you might say that you're not affected by it, but if I picked you, then it could affect my relationship with Zims in some sort of way. Like you just don't know how.
Well,
And I'll be real. Like if Zims got picked, and then he picked another content creator that we're all friends with, like there is gonna be a part of me like, why not me? Like, so, you know what I mean?
well, if we sort of jump around a little bit, like I'm going to sort of like I'm going to help defend your choice here. Not that it needs defending at all, by the way, but like, but what I'm going to say is, and it's a question that was asked, which was basically about the timing of while you're there, because you're there from Wednesday to Sunday. Okay, now we'll get into how long you were physically streaming for each day as the show goes on. But Matt, you made a good point at the start of that conversation. Jack's looking for someone that doesn't have a family, wife, kids, partner, whatever, responsibilities, right? Aaron, you and I have both got kids, like, you know. So in that environment, when that tournament's going on, you need someone like Matt to keep you calm, keep you chill, to not have any distractions in the outside world.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you're going to need at that moment in time is your phone going off saying the kids aren't in a great way, or my phone going off and saying, right, my kids aren't in a great way, so therefore I'm the one that's meant to be keeping you calm, and I'm distracted. So that's the best pick. As I say, like I was never angling for anything, and when I saw it come up, I was laughing away to myself, just going like, honestly, like anyone who's suggesting this has got no idea how bad a decision that would be to have me there. And again, like you, I'd already declared as Scottish, so it probably wouldn't have. The absolute pelters I would have taken in an England shirt. Could you imagine?
Oh man. It was like, it wasn't a difficult choice. And I watch, like, Matt probably doesn't even know this. He can even ask the missus. Like, I watch him a lot. Like, if I'm doing something, his stream should be on that screen, and then because he streams obviously in the daytime as well, which is when I'm doing a lot of stuff as well. If I'm not streaming myself, so it was just like, I don't know, just pick him sort of thing. Like, there was no real there was no real thought process behind it. It was really just don't really pick a friend just because he's your friend sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so in the conversation as well with the England gaming manager, he really wants to win. He really wants to go far. So there was also a bit of, he does like, because I did say to him, talking about how it's going to be an e-sport and stuff like, and I was trying to explain like, Football Manager sometimes can just be Football Manager. Like things can be out of your control, but and I was trying to obviously promote myself. So I'm like, yeah, I'm like sort of the expert when it comes to tactics, but there are other lot of things behind the game like I don't know about, like the contract negotiations, that sort of stuff. I don't know about that. So obviously it's going to be important to have someone that can sort of balance that out. But if I was going to say like, yeah, I'll pick him because he can calm me down. That's all. That was never in my head, to be honest.
But it's a team, right? Okay, it's a team environment. So that's one of the things we have to mention. Okay, so we've got manager plus assistant manager. We've already worked out that there's 2 teams from England. Okay, so yourself and Matt, Jack and Tom. Invites because of the fact that they were hosting the tournament. Okay, so the tournament's held in Liverpool, Exhibition Centre, down on the docks. Amazing venue. Okay, fully kitted out. We'll talk about that as we go through as well. So we've got to the point where fully kitted out, exactly, right? So we get to the point where England Gaming have contacted you both, okay? Let's talk about England Gaming at this moment in time, right? There'll be a lot of people maybe listening going, what is England Gaming? Because unless you're in that sphere, it probably hasn't come up in many people's conversations. And I'm aware we've got international listeners as well, so there will be other international federations, which again we'll talk about, because of course it's a World Cup. So let's discuss England Gaming, because you've been an active part of it, fully decked out in your Three Lions clobber.
Like for me, my point of view, I can't explain it. if I'm being totally honest with you, like it's just a crazy experience. It honestly feels like someone like the FM gods literally just got their big hands, just picked me up, and then just plunked me in the situation, and I'm just there. Like, I don't understand what it means. Like, at this point, I still don't understand what it actually means and what we've actually just done. It was only actually speaking to Miles. So when just before the actual final was about to play, me, Miles, and second cousin out there as well actually, and we was having a little smoke and whatever. And Miles was just saying, yeah, well, you two are, what was he saying? That you two are England international managers. Yeah. But to me, that was his way of like boosting us up. So I was like, oh, no. He's like, no, for real, like, you two are England international players. When the FIFA came to us, like, it was, they're picking the FAs. And it was like, now you're representing the FAs and I was like, oh, crap. Like, I was just thinking, oh, crap. Like, that sort of stuff, I just didn't realise what... The moment I was in there and we saw the set, it was like, we looked at each other like, we're going to have fun. And that was all like... That was just it. For me, anyway, like, I didn't really know what it means or what it now means to represent England as an esports gamer. I just don't understand it.
I think fun is definitely the word that I think has been used to describe you two the most over the last week. Matt, I think you probably did see, because again, Aaron's saying he didn't realise what it meant to represent England at an international tournament. He clearly had no idea when he came out dancing with his flag for the national anthem. The man brought the vibes.
Yeah, but the thing is, what you don't see. All week, wasn't it? Well, yeah, but what you don't see about that is the fact that he'd been stood behind the stage on the stairs with the flag for 40 minutes.
Oh, my legs were ready to move, man. We were standing at, me and the Indonesian team, we was just like, what is happening? We're just there. And they're like, at first as well, because obviously all the staff are busy running around. So at first it's literally just us just standing on the stairs. Like, we're like, and you can't hear what people are talking about, by the way. Like, when the presenters are on the stage talking with the mics and they're talking to you guys on the broadcast, we can't hear a thing. Like, the speakers,
there's no speakers or backstage.
No, the speakers are looking at you. The speakers are pointing at you, though, and we can't. So even when we're drafted and they're not making jokes or whatever about, we can't hear a thing. Like,
interesting.
Like, when me and Matt, day one, we was behind a computer screen. Outside world was locked off. We was getting tagged in things, and we don't know any of this stuff. We're just playing, and all of a sudden, oh my god, my phone's just, oh my god, you're tagged on the World Cup Instagram. And we're like, huh? We're literally playing Dynamo. What's going on? But yeah, so we was behind that big screen that you could see. We was there for 40 minutes, with the flag in our hand as well. And you can imagine we just want to go out and play that semi-final. But there's all this build-up. I can imagine how it is like as a footballer. You got the Champions League final and the night before, and the morning is just all about the build-up, and you're just there like, I just want to play. I just want to kick off the cup final. That's what that's what it felt like. It was behind that screen for 40 minutes. Just standing there with a flag.
Okay. Well, right. So again, let's rewind. Let's rewind. So we're giving a little bit away as to where it goes, which is good. Let's go back to the start. Right now, obviously, as well, this part of me loves the fact that FIFA now know just how difficult it is to get in touch with Aaron as well. By the way, like I do feel like they can now sympathise what I have to put up with on a weekly basis. Just like,
oh my god, literally.
So you're not going to get an answer from him. You won't, literally. Honestly.
Oh man,
he'll get there, but you'll not know how. So you've been announced, and it's obviously not just England that's been announced. There's other nations as well. So we've mentioned, Matt, that England have been invites only because they're tournament hosts. It wasn't just invites only for every other nation, was it? Other nations had national qualifiers. So do you want to maybe talk about some of that, like how that worked and which nations were doing national qualifiers, which nations had FA representatives to pick in?
Yeah, so my understanding, and this is based purely on everyone I talked to, and admittedly that was the majority of people that we spoke to, other competitors, because when you're there with that many people in close quarters for that length of time, you do, generally speaking, get a chance to talk to everyone. Sometimes there was a few issues with language barriers on certain people, but that was very, very rare. Most people were incredibly fluent in English. It was actually like scary and somewhat humbling in a way. But the majority of them, it seemed to be a split. Like some nations had national qualifiers for every position. So, for example, the winners, Indonesia, they had this huge national qualifiers with like over 100 people whittled down using all kinds of tests. I've seen some of the tests they had to do for it. It was wild, and it's no surprise in the fact they ended up winning it. Some nations chose purely on an invitational basis, where they would basically pick people and invite them, much the same way that England Gaming chose to. Now, I can't speak entirely on their behalf to their logic for that, but I suspect it was a case of they wanted people that would be good behind a camera and happen to also hopefully be semi-competent at FM. And I guess choosing 4 professional FM content creators, they just assumed that we'd be at least, competent at the game, and hopefully they got their money's worth out of that. But other nations, such as France, had a very large content creator. The French competitor had like over 1 million Twitter followers, and then Joel, who was his sort of assistant manager, was perhaps more knowledgeable in FM and also built like a tank. What a guy!
Adonis as well. What
a man!
Oh,
sexy man!
Try to stand next to him. That shit.
He was brought him for the eye candy.
Let's do some content with him.
Followers, give him a boost. Go on.
They were like, let's do some content with him. And far away, you're like, yeah. And as I was getting close, I was like, I'm regretting this decision.
Objects in the mirror may be bigger than they appear.
Literally. I felt older just by being in the room. I was just like, I'm not even. There's no need. He's not going to want to speak to me. He's going to go. Someone's dad's turned up.
Oh dear. But yeah, so it was kind of a mix of everything. Poland, I believe, had a sort of an influencer and someone that I believe was through some kind of qualifiers. Germany had qualifiers, but then I believe that Zvayaketa, I think he did do some kind of qualifiers, but then I think he was also brought in to provide a bit of sort of brevity and comic relief, and boy did he. I think that was the case with a lot of them. Oh, he was so good. He was an absolute pro. And I think that everyone, even the people that had no content experience, like the Norwegians and the Lithuanians, they killed it. And the South Africans, they had no form of content experience whatsoever. They were brought in solely on their FM skills, and they deserved to be there for that reason alone, but they proved that they could be way more than that, and that's what I think it's awesome. And I hope that a lot of them come away from that wanting to make content, and that's so sick.
Yeah, shout out to Enzo, by the way, the South African boy. Like, it's just, again, Mr. Charisma. Like, he's cool as a cucumber. He's got lines and everything, like loads of wit. Norwegian contingent as well were pretty funny. Lithuania.
Those,
my guys.
Lithuania.
Those. It is crazy how you literally, your closest rivals end up like they're literally best friends at the same time.
Yeah.
We're competing with each other, but we're literally telling each other up. It was weird because it's that excitement of being football manager. Do you remember when you was playing football manager and you always just wanted a friend, you just wanted them over your shoulder and you could just show off your saves, and that's what it felt like we were doing with each other, even though we was competing against each other. It was such a great experience, man. But those Lithuanians, they're amazing.
That's a really important point, and it has been discussed a lot on social media today, is that, and I'm only going to speak about this from being at the finals. So I was there on the Sunday. Of course, you were there Wednesday through to Sunday. Although it's competitive, and of course I was watching it bits and pieces online because I was away on holiday with minimal mobile signal and certainly no Wi-Fi, so I was playing catch up slowly. There's a few moments where I'm just like, oh, how's Aaron getting on? And oh my God, we'll talk about that in a second. But it's super competitive. There's a hell of a lot of money on the line as well. By the way, let's mention that there was a big prize purse for FM. And I've been involved in draft tournaments, hosting them, being part of them. I've been in there where there's nothing on the line, and my word, it gets aggy. There's needle, there's egos. It didn't seem like it had that. Like, from the viewer's perspective, and certainly in the room on the Sunday, even when it was the big moments, it felt like everyone was just there having fun and playing FM with their mates, and there was just a nice competitiveness about it, a bit of a rivalry. Everyone's having fun, everyone respects each other, rather than, well, I've got to win. I'm not telling them that my tactic, like, oh, they're going to use this little, I'm going to use this little exploit and I'm going to get in here and all that sort of. It didn't feel like any of that. Maybe from a manager's perspective it was different, but from an audience perspective, I didn't pick up on that personally.
Well, when there was an exploit, that just flew around the whole room. Like, no one was really sharing. Again, it's that, I think there was just that burst of that, I want to tell someone something, and everything. That's just how it caught on, yeah. Like, even if there was a player, I remember that Rocco Simic as well, and the next minute, many other people had Rocco Simic in their team as well. So it was just like, it was one of those things, yeah. It was, I think, so with the money thing, again, like we all knew there was large amounts of money, but it wasn't like the thing that people cared about. I think people more cared about being known as the better FM player. I think that felt more important than the money. If I'm like, the only time the money got mentioned is when the presenters mentioned it in the press conferences. That's the only time money got mentioned, if I'm totally honest with you.
Yeah, press conferences, Matt. That was the thing. Like, there's a thing as well. Like, it was because they were doing this for the first time. We should say as well, this is the first ever time an event like this has been put on of this scale. It's not just getting a whole bunch of people from around the world to play Football Manager. They took it seriously in terms of they wanted your media personality, so they wanted you to sort of be able to turn up suited and booted and do a press conference and answer questions. And of course, there was certain nations who then had to get interpreters in as well. And there's a cracking story about the Indonesian interpreter, which I found out on the Sunday, which either of you feel free to tell. It's just that, for me, encapsulated the Football Manager community just in that one moment right there.
Yeah, it's crazy. The press conferences were, I mean, Aaron will know more about them than me, but they were just, it was such a unique part of it. I don't think you'll get that with any other esport, because there's no reason to have that in other esports. And I know there was talk of like being scored on them, but I'm honestly kind of glad we weren't, because I think that it was more fun to just be able to go into them and literally just have a laugh. Like, when I'd seen Aaron do the first two, and obviously he was smashing it and it was brilliant, I was so proud of him, but obviously we weren't going to just like, he couldn't do every single one of them. So when he was like, right, you're up next, I'm like, okay. And I was bricking it. I'm on the stage and my hands are dripping. I didn't want to put them on the desk because I was afraid of putting like handprints on the black desk of my sweat balls. So I was like, right, I'll put them in like this. I'll do that. And then I was preparing all these lines, and then all of a sudden, Statman Dave, or whoever, I think it was Statman Dave, asked me the first question, and it just sort of cleared, and it was just like, we're just having fun with this is incredible fun, just getting to say things that you would never normally say, and just essentially it was like a cosplay. You were just cosplaying and role-playing as a manager at that point, more than any other point. It was so much fun.
It's the thing that you've done in your bedroom for years, isn't it, really? You've had all these moments in your head regardless. You do the press conference in your head, and what I found was really interesting from a performer's perspective as well, because I'm watching this as a performer, thinking a lot of these people who are taking part aren't content creators, so they've got to get over that initial thing of playing in front of people, like around them and stuff, like, you know, and then of course potentially in the finals, real people in a live audience. You've then got to be able to present, and people don't like presenting. Presenting's quite difficult. People hate it as a skill. But Aaron, when did you get media training, man? Because you're slick as fuck. Like, and I know I work with you every single week, but my word, man, you look polished.
I generally just don't know what happened. I don't know what got over me that weekend. I literally just felt 13 again, literally. But it was crazy because we was playing. So the first ever so we got this player briefing, right? And again, it just mentions press conferences. And like, it doesn't, you don't see no setup for it, or there's no prep for it. It's just press conference. And we're like, I thought you was getting ranked or doing press conferences in the game. That's what I thought press conferences was. And then Jack was like, you're such a donut. How are we going to complete every press conference in that amount of time? And I was like, that's what I was thinking. And so we was playing the game, right? And then it was getting towards the end of our session. And then next minute, some TV turns on and they're doing a press conference. And we're like, oh my God, that looks insane. And it's just like, yeah, you're up in 45 minutes of it. And you're just like, what? But I'll be honest with you, my whole performance, I say my performance, but my whole thing was like, I'm not going home with no regrets whatsoever. And that was just my whole thing. Like, you've got this opportunity now to show them who Aaron is. And I remember going through my phone this morning, it's like, I knew I really soaked it in because I've rarely got any images that I've taken from my actual phone. It's literally just me taking pictures of Matt doing something, or me recording Matt while he's doing something on the media on the side or something. That's just all in my phone. I wasn't taking, like, hanging around, because I was just literally taking it all in. Shout out to the England gaming manager though, because it was all this prep talk, like, every day. It's just like, soak it in. If you lose in the game, your energy needs to be up. Soak it in. It was just like that constantly in your head. So yeah, it was just. It's one of those things which has been said a lot, isn't it? Like, it's my mindset whenever I'm in these sorts of, like, even like lower level, like, sort of tournaments, is if you're not going to win,
be the most entertaining, like be memorable, right? And have fun. And you two made sure that you had fun all the way. I mean, some of the moments that have been captured on the social media from the FIFAe Twitter feed, it's just like, you can't make that up. Like, you can't stage it. And if you'd have said at the end of that tournament, oh, I wish I had some really good clips, you've got a stack of clips.
Oh, we got so many.
I mean, where do we begin? Do we begin with Aaron offering John Terry a seat? Do we offer the bit where you celebrate? You're laughing at an own goal being celebrated. Do we do the ultimate celebration of victory? I mean, which one was your favourite one, Matt? Which was your favourite clip?
Oh, there were so many. There's also like just little ones, like the synchronized chairs when the Florian comes in to take our save files. We saw it all the way back, and then we come all the way forward. And then there's another one where there's a VAR check going on, and we're both cuddling in the back corner in the chairs, and like just little things like that. It's just there was the little clips. I got a spam call about mould and cracks, and there was just the randomest things that would happen while we were live that you couldn't possibly plan out, and that's what made it so fun and organic for me, is that we were just kind of rolling with it all the time. And I think I got more comfortable as the week grew on, being more expressive. And I think it went from like the first day it was like Aaron celebrate all the goals, and I'm just sort of like, yeah. Then day 3 we're both jumping around and crashing into things, and it's like
there's a bit as well where you can see how, like, because Aaron had mentioned at the start, like, not picking a mate, quote unquote, but you see the friendship develop into this relationship throughout the course of the tournament, because there's a beautiful clip where I think it's Aaron's just done his team talk, and he puts his hood over and he starts vibing, he's giving it all this, and you're just sat straight down the camera, like it's almost like you're not aware of what Aaron's doing, and he's like, and then you sort of like go look at him and go, yeah, all right, yeah, like just
So we've got like a clip.
Of course he's doing that.
Yeah, but we've got a clip. It's basically the same thing, but the other way around. So basically, I had a cramp earlier that day, and the moment I had it, he knew instantly. Cramp, like he was helping me, sorting me out, got me a Powerade and everything. A few hours later now, I'm just locked in the game, and then he's got a cramp, but I'm so oblivious to this. Like he's just in the background, like, oh cramp. I'm just in the game like this. My face is just like, and the next minute I look, crowd's like, what's wrong with your knee? And he's like, I've got a cramp. But I did it again. These things that I didn't know. I watched the clip that night and I was in tears because I'm just looking at the chat like, Aaron, wake up, and Aaron, your sister's got a cramp. Which is like the whole chat's just like, Aaron, wake up, sort of thing. I had no idea at the time what was happening. I was like, Matt, your knee? He's like, no, cramp.
Yeah. We should say this was being streamed out live all the time, so it's not like you were locked in a box just playing the game. This was live streamed via FIFAe, and live chat, of course, scrolling. Instant reactions from these two constantly, and everyone else who's taking part. Let's explain the format. Let's explain the format of what it was, because we're about half an hour into the show. We've not really explained how it was set up for that weekend. So there was 2 stages, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes,
2 stages.
Yeah, group stages and then the knockout.
Groups and knockouts. Okay, so how is the group stage set up, and what did you need to do in order to get to the knockout stage?
You want to have a have a try and explaining the points system, because we was playing.
Take the points bit out of it for the first of all. Let's do the high level stuff first of all.
Okay,
Then we'll get into the minutiae.
So essentially, you were given a team, and in our case, it was Dinamo Zagreb, right? But there was 4 teams, of course. But we'll just discuss Zagreb for now, because that's sort of what you can talk to the others about that. But basically, you then had 3 full days. So for us, it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You had 9 hours, sort of, in which to complete a full season. You'd be graded on things that you did over the course of that season, essentially. So it was essentially like you were playing 3 match days, 1, 2, and 3 seasons. And then you were graded on things like winning the league, your managerial rating, winning cups, cup progression, Champions League, various things like that, basically. So you were sort of head-to-head, but not actually head-to-head, and you had to complete it within that certain time slot. So that was the sort of stage 1 of the format, and then the winners of the group, you didn't always have to compete it in that time slot.
So you mentioned groups. How were the groups decided?
Random
Do we
draw.
know? Or who was... Oh, random draw, right.
Yeah, so there was a
So
draw
who
done.
was in your group
There was
then?
actually a draw at the beginning. So what day was it? That was the Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it was Wednesday morning before we had that one
so
random
the Wednesday
afternoon
morning,
session.
yeah. So they got everyone in that press conference room, and then there was 4 people. So there was the sporting representative, there was the Dynamo representative, Spence, and I can't remember who was the other person, but they done
it was the guy from
whole.
SI.
Yes, it was. They done the whole Champions League,
Brighton.
spin the ball, and then you get to see what team it is. So the 4 teams, because again, everyone's walking into the tournament not knowing who these teams are, which is that's part of the fun. I love that bit as well. But yeah, and then you just got the 4 teams, and then after the 4 teams have been announced, then it starts putting you into groups. Obviously, England can't be put in the same group as Brighton, and we can't be in the same group as the same England team as well. So Jack's team came up first, and they were in Group C, which is Sporting. And I swear to you, Tony, I don't know how this worked out, but from that Wembley day all the way to that moment, we done all our testing in Croatia. Ask us why, we don't know why. We just love testing in Croatia. And then when we got Dynamo, oh my days, I was...
You did a lot of scouting in that part of the world as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
and
yeah,
of course
yeah,
it
yeah.
made complete sense.
So it was just
literally,
like-
you mentioned those FM gods, they were just going,
it was the whole...
have a little bit of that.
Yeah, so there was that instant connection with Dynamo. So that's how we found out the teams and the draws. We all found out the structure of it, sort of, and what team was going to be all there on that morning. On that Wednesday morning, we arrived.
Okay, so we're talking about structure then, Matt. It sounds like it's going to get mathematical, so I'm going to come to you and maybe see if you can explain
There was
it.
a very complicated score sheet, which I did post on my Instagram story, but I believe Tom also posted his one for Sporting on Twitter as well, if anyone is wanting to see this kind of stuff. But it was essentially this sheet of paper that I must admit Aaron and I didn't realise had a second side of it until the second day. So I must admit that was a bit of a faux pas from us. But we moved.
I take it back. I could have been part of this.
So we complete a challenge not knowing as well. Yeah. We complete the challenge not knowing we complete the challenge.
Yeah, because they had all the point stuff on the back.
Yeah.
And they're the challenges on the front. But it was things like, so you got points for winning the league, and then you get points for every position you finish down from that. But the fact is, with Dynamo, most people were just going to win the league every season. We did. I believe the only team that didn't win the league in any of the seasons was Switzerland. You also got points for winning the cup, which was 5 points. You got points for progressing in the cup, which was 2 points, which was way more of an issue than anyone in our group thought it was going to be. We also got points for getting into the Champions League, qualifying each round of the Champions League, which was 5 points. Europa League was 3, Conference League was 2, etc. There was then a daily challenge, which was worth 5 points, which was weirdly quite difficult on the first day as well. And I believe, there was also points out of 10 for managerial rating as well. So you were competing on many different fronts, and there was a lot of different things that could go wrong, because being knocked out of the cup early could cost you, it cost us 9 points on the first day, and we actually thought we'd fucked the whole thing by getting beaten on that first cup day, which is why the cup sort of became this mystical beast for us for the next 2 days, we were jumping around the room celebrating us scoring a goal against a third division side, because it meant so much to us.
And this is sort of very much build a nation territory for you, isn't it, Matt? Because you're sort of that's your style of playing. I mean, poor Aaron, he's got 3 days to play the same save. This is going to be doing his head
Longest save ever.
Yeah, when do we quit and start again? We've got to manage all 4 teams in 3 days. Easy. I can do this, no problem. Right. Okay. So play as many seasons as you can. We'll mention it, shall we? We'll mention the Champions League. Oh, that was a moment. Aaron, talk us through it.
That was insane. So the season 1, we done well. Did we got knocked out of the Champions League qualifiers, I think.
Yeah, we lost to Ike.
How we lost that game, I don't even know as well. Over 2 legs, how we lost that, we don't know. But we got into the Europa League, and then we got to the quarterfinals, which that's actually fairly impressive. I think that could have sort of got swept under the carpet because of our cup run. We got knocked out in the cup, and then after the first day, we're like, we've shaked it, boys. I'm sorry, but then when we saw the points tally, we're like, but if the other team don't do this and we can do this sort of thing. Second season came. We won the league, of course, but Champions League, we got knocked out in the... So we got just about through the group phase, but you have to now play a playoff to actually get to the last 16, I think it was, where again, we failed.
Red
and it
Bull
was
Salzburg.
Yeah, and we were just like... So basically, we went away to Red Bull Salzburg. We've just done incredible to get an away win. We're like, oh my God. And then, yeah, the home leg, it was horrible. It was, we had one shot. The whole game, one shot, 0 on target. The highlight thing at the bottom was just Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull. We were just getting hammered. And even the fresh legs, that wasn't working. It was just, everything was getting hammered. And then third season came in, yeah, the Champions League run. So the first thing, we was a bit down as well. So we at that stage, we got Onana and Amad Diallo, which makes the 2 best players in the team by far. And of course, they didn't join us in time for Champions League registration. So we played the Champions League. Yeah, we played the Champions League group games without them. And once that happened, we was like, well, that's that, boys, that's that. But no, Dynamo never surrender. They just kept winning and winning. I mean, we went to AC Milan away first.
Yeah, the 4-all.
Yeah, it was like the chat though. The chat was like, it's winnable. And we're like,
and they were right.
In our head, it's like, it's winnable, but it's still Milan versus Dynamo. So we got through that. Yeah, yeah, literally, yeah. Oh, what was it 3 or 4-0 up, and then they came back. We're like, well, that's done. And then yeah, we got through that. The next leg was it Real Madrid?
Real Madrid. Yeah,
Real Madrid. Yeah.
Oh, so an easy route to the final then.
No, it was the most difficult route. So yeah, and then we was playing that game, but then Vinicius got sent off.
Yeah.
So I
11 minutes in.
Yeah, did we score first and then they equalised, or they scored first and we equalised? I can't remember.
I think we scored first, then they equalised, then we went ahead again, didn't we?
Yeah. So, and then when they equalised, that's when they got them sending off. And then me and Matt were holding each other like, please just hold on to this point. Because we know about the 10-man OP, yeah. Hold on to the point. Hold on to the point. Next minute, we just got the 93rd winner and we just lost that. At this point, we was getting, we've got everyone going around us now. All the media, the broadcast, John Terry, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, they're all now, they could just hear us going mental. But people like, something special's going on over there. So at this stage, everyone was invested and they were like, kept coming back. Like, when you come in, Champions League semis. So we got to the semis now. It's Bayern Munich. We're like, oh man, it was a great journey, boys. It was a great journey. It's a great journey. First leg, first shot on target, goal. We celebrate. Second shot on target, goal. We celebrate. We're like, what's happening? Then it's like 3-0. Then we went 4-0 up. And we was like, what is happening? So in my head, yeah, so while all of this is going crazy, in my head, I'm already trying to I'm trying to work out my defensive tactic already, because I'm like, there's no way we're gonna bottle this. Yeah, and then we got... So in that game, in that leg, is where the most funniest thing happened, where we was defending, and our left back cleared it. It's gone straight to our right winger at the time, Rocco Simic. For some reason, he just hits a first-time volley back into his own goal. Brilliant finish. But the worst thing was, he's ran off celebrating, so he's validated his own goal, and he's ran off celebrating. It was absolutely hilarious, man. But like, going back to that point of like me wanting the people to see Aaron more, I feel that if that was at home, I would have, that my head would have gone. I would have just went mental at the game and blamed the game, this and that. For some reason, in that environment, it was just completely hilarious. I think at that point, I sort of realised I'm not just representing myself, it's England, there's Matt, there's the other England team as well, but also the football manager community. I'm like, if I lose my head at this stage, that's not going to go well. But if I'm being honest, I never ever felt I was even getting to that point. Like, nothing, other than there was a little, when other teams got awarded 5 points because of a rule that's in Croatia that has nothing to do with us. Other teams got awarded. That's when I felt a bit, you know what, we're getting shafted. That was the only point. But other than that, it was just like, we're just here for vibes. And that Champions League run got us to the final, or the semi-final, in the next day. But yeah, that run, oh my days, absolutely insane. But as we was going through that run, we knew that it's very unlikely that another team in the same group is going to have the same run. We just knew it. Though Malaysia then got to the quarterfinals when we finished our seat. So this was the game plan. Other teams are like, why don't you lot slow down? You got like 2 hours left. We're like, no, we're going to play this final and we're going to put the pressure on everybody else to finish, because now we're at the final. So now the other person has to win it. That's the only way that we can get knocked off, is another team actually wins it. And then we got off. We went we went to watch the stream on someone's laptop, and then they were in the quarterfinals and they were winning. We're like, oh, and yeah, obviously maybe it could be bad, maybe a little bit negative, but when Porto did win and beat the other Dynamo team, we celebrated, which I think is kind of nature, right? Because it's now it's put you through to the next stage. So yeah, we went mental. And then by then, it's like all these other teams had about 2 hours left to play, but nothing to play for. Well, they still got something to play for, because right, if you finish 5th, you get a certain amount of the prize pool. 4th, a little bit higher. 3rd, again, a little bit higher. So there is still something to play for, absolutely. But we just had so much fun and so much belief.
National pride as well is what you're playing for at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
You're playing for. You don't want to.
Absolutely. So Poland, when in Group C, Poland were in Group C. And they knew, obviously, no chance of winning it, but you can tell how important it was for them not to finish last. And I think they won something which boosted them up in the table, and they went absolutely mental. And again, you just look at it like, that's what it's all about, sort of thing. Yeah, it was brilliant, man. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was amazing to see. That was the moment that, like, because obviously, as I say, I'm away on holiday. Sai Maggio, who's currently away on holiday at the minute, was texting, keeping us up to date with what was going on while you were streaming it. And it started that morning going like, oh, how's Aaron and Matt's save going to go today? And he was like, well, they've got the X, Y, and Z. And then next time I actually get phone reception, it's like, they're in the Champions League final. I'm like, what? What have I missed?
But it's one of those things that me and Matt were like, if we'd done this at home, there's no way we're getting to the final in season 3. That's just like, that's never going to happen. For some reason, it just happened for us. But it's one of those things I learned a lot from Matt as well. And through that journey, especially the Champions League journey, because many times he told me fresh legs, and it's something that I don't do. If people watch me, they know, like, if I'm behind in the game, I'm very edgy about making subs. I like the players on the pitch to sort that out and then getting us in a winning position. Then I can make subs. But nah, not next to Matt. Matt is like fresh legs. I probably think fresh legs probably. So when you got your assistant so calm telling you, I probably fresh legs. It means listen to them. And the amount of times that I did make that change, or we made that change, and that person went on to score, it's just a great feeling. I don't know how it felt for him, like, to have that import, and then, because we got told as well, this is obviously from other people, but we got told about that our connection and how much the actual assistant manager's import affected our saves as well. It wasn't just the manager behind the thing and then he was just reading or managing the chat. He had a lot of import in the save. And also in the press conference as well, I had to make sure people knew how much import that he was putting in as well, which again, it was something that other teams maybe didn't do, because obviously there's a manager that might have their clear eye there and they want this and that. But for me, it was like, in my head, I was like, if someone took me out of my house for me to sit next to them for 11 hours and have no import, I'd be fuming. I would be fuming.
It's a really, really good point. Like, you are sat there for a long time, right? And we know, it's probably a weird way of thinking about this, but we know as content creators, like, that sitting streaming for 9 hours or 10 hours or whatever is brain work, isn't it? It's properly taxing, okay? And at that point, you're probably at a slight disadvantage to people who aren't content creators, because they're just used to just sitting playing without any distraction going on. Normally, that's just what they'll do. They do that as their style of gaming sometimes. So you're coming out of like sort of stream mode, but you're also staying in stream mode, so you're exerting so much energy. Those fresh legs that are sat next to you, Aaron, are really keeping you in a good spot, because we've all played FM for a long time and got ourselves a little bit either distracted or not really paying enough attention to the game. And you go through the motions because we've played this game for God knows how long, that things just feel like, right, if I click this now, that'll do that. If I click that now, that'll do that. So to have someone like Matt who's just sitting there going, you missed it. No, hang on. Nope, this bit over here, you've not seen that yet. That's invaluable. And to have someone like Matt who is calm and plays the game a very different way as well is a really nice complement of styles, I think. Yeah.
I think that's a challenge as well for the assistant manager, is that the actual manager has a different style of play or how they play the game, and you're sort of just sitting there watching it, but in your head you're thinking, oh, that was me, I'll do this. Oh, if that was me, I'll do that. So I know from a system like that must be so difficult, which, again, a lot of us, the managers, got praised a lot and not the assistants, but a lot of praise goes out to the assistants as well. Not just for us, like for many different teams. It must have been the exact same.
Matt, was there any part of you that was jealous is the wrong word, but is there any part of you that was wanting to switch seats at any point? Because was there a potential that could have happened? Like the assistant manager could have taken over at some point? Is this what I was hearing from various bits and bobs? Because obviously you streamed for a long time.
So I believe originally our impression was that I was basically allowed to do almost nothing, and we were a bit confused as to why that was. But then, upon talking to FIFAe when we got there, it was clarified that actually it was much more broad than that. As you may have noticed several times when Aaron went for a drink or went for a walk or needed to do some content with some of the various and huge amounts of content creators that were around doing stuff there as well, I would just slide my chair over and then just control things for a little bit. It wasn't something we particularly agreed upon. It was just one of those things that after the first day or two just became really easy to just slide in and out like that. But there was never a moment where I was like, I should be in that seat. At the end of the day, I was fortunate enough to be there because Aaron had chosen to pick me, and I was very grateful for that. We do have very different managerial styles, but that's why I think it worked really, really well, because I'm not particularly in depth when it comes to tactics, whereas Aaron does things in that I look at it and it's like watching a pigeon play chess, because I'm like, I can't do that. It's crazy. I would love to know how to do that. If anything, I'm the pigeon, because it's not possible for me to learn that. And so it's absolutely a masterclass when it's coming off like that. He's just doing things, and I'm just like, I don't know what you're doing, but it's working, and I wish I knew what. And trying to find ways that you can impact things as an assistant without undermining your manager. You're there to support them and help them, right? So the only thing I could think of was I was noticing that we were often going into games without making substitutions later on. I was like, right, this is something I tend to do, and it often seems to work for me. Let's see if we can find a way to come to a solution with that. And that's where we came up with, essentially, we just came up with the code word, fresh legs. We didn't do that on stream. I said it a few times, but sort of off stream, we then basically decided, right, well, we're going to do that. I'll just say fresh legs. And then it sort of locks you out again, brings you step back a second, and then we just make some changes. And didn't always work, but hey, sometimes it did, right? And that's just, I think, what just kept us going that little bit further. And I do wonder if other managerial teams had that same thing, or whether they didn't, and perhaps that got them into trouble sometimes. I don't know. It's hard to say, but either way, it was just a great working as a team. Like, you could sort of see how we became more and more friends with each other as the week went on. Like, we were like acquaintances, and then by the end, we're just like, it's fabulous.
I think I kissed back like 3-4 times as well. Because honestly, he made the experience, amazing for me. Honestly, because it could have been another content creator that wanted more airtime or wanted this and wanted that.
Yeah. And
Matt was literally just spot on, perfect.
I think that's, that again, that I keep saying it shone through on the camera, because it did. That's the problem. You can't hide that, and you can't fake that. Also as well, there's moments when an assistant manager has to either be firm with their manager or go, okay, this might be the way to do it. This is your call. At what point, Matt, did you think that one defender was the way to go?
Now, you don't put this on him. Yes, do not put this on him.
I'm not.
Yes.
This was entirely my fault, because we were vibing 7-2 up from the first leg in the cup final, and we obviously had a little bit of a lull in between because there's some games and stuff to get through, and we're talking transfers. So the chat and I are just talking, and someone in chat brings up me playing a system that we used to refer to lovingly as "We Want This," which was misspelled. And then someone in chat, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Andrew, but shout out if that was wrong, put the exact team instructions for it in the chat, and then Aaron just saw it out the corner of his eye and went, I wonder. And I just come back and he's just building it in the text. Oh, we're doing this then, are we? And then, wouldn't you know it, we won the damn game. Second leg as well, 2-1, won the cup final with that. And I was like, well, that's going to be brought up at the press conference.
Yeah. See, that's another thing as well. Even though I did say it in the press conference, like, that wasn't my tactic, that's Matt's tactic. But that's another thing where I'm like sort of proud that I've used something that from my assistant, again, it's that assistant manager's output, but it also played a big role in the entertainment and obviously the focus as well. Like, people are like, what's this? 7 playmakers. And I'm like, RDF explain it. I'm like, I can't. It's not mine.
I like how it's ended up in all these posts on the internet about, like, these are the tactics played at the FIFAe World Cup. And I'm just like, are you sure about that?
Yeah. So, do you want to explain it then, Matt? Do you want to explain what this...
Yeah. So essentially it was just...
was?
I think this must have been last year at some point this season, with MTK, with Sirens in Malta, Chat and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun if we had a tactic that is entirely made of playmakers? And we were trying to figure out the best sort of combination of ways to make that happen whilst having the most players, at least that had playmaker in the name. So it has 5 advanced playmakers in the 3 AMC roles and then the 2 AMR and AML roles. Then behind that there's 2 RPMs because you've got to get a bit of movement going, right? Then in the 2 wide midfield spots behind you've got a wide playmaker on either side, and then you've got a libero sat behind because he's technically a playmaker, and then a sweeper keeper on attacking, which is about as most playmakery as you can. And that it creates some interesting runs.
So for those of you who are now listening, 1 defender, 4 midfielders, 5 not strikers,
and a 2-1 win.
Strikerless as well.
You know what? Honestly, that's one of the moments again that you forget. Especially Zealand is covering all these games. Like we just thought this was an intimate thing between us and the chat sort of thing. Like we were just having fun, and next minute it was just like people were coming up and like, "What's this crazy tactic that you're playing?" And like, huh? Well. So our thing was like, oh, we don't want people to like. So in my head it was like, oh, I don't want people to think like negative of Football Manager and start, oh, look, see how unrealistic Football Manager is, sort of thing. Like, so when they were like posted it, I was like, no, don't post it, sort of thing. Yeah. But then once it caught around, I was like, you know what, I might as well just post it on my Twitter as well. Which
but we've all been in that situation streaming when you are chasing a game and I've got to a situation where I've had 2 defenders. I've never gone with 1, but I've had 2 centre backs, and then that's me, and everyone else is like moving up in advanced positions. So we have all been there, and it's not a case of like, is it an FM thing? I think a real manager would push as many people forward as they possibly could, but maybe I wouldn't start with one.
And in the cup final.
In a cup final, yeah. Maybe this is why I don't win much. Maybe it'd be more risky. Take more risks.
Send it. That's enough.
But you know what? It worked. You got out of the group stages. You got out of that first stage into the finals. Okay, finals on a Sunday in front of a live audience. That's gotta be a weird feeling in the first instance. Even the streamers, we used to play in front of God knows how many people on stream. As a comedian, I know that playing in front of a lot of people is an amazing feeling. What's it like playing Football Manager in front of people? Has that bit sunk in yet?
Nah.
No.
No.
It's
just,
weird.
Just while you have that thought for a second, because I know trying to explain this to people going, even the idea of streaming, going, people watch you play Football Manager. Like, and they go, yeah, it happens. Like, I was in the room, we were watching you play Football Manager, we were cheering when goals went in as well. Like,
the most
so you didn't
surreal
just
thing.
have that thing of going, people are watching us. When people bought in, you could feed off that energy.
First off, thank you people as well for cheering Indonesia when they scored, because we did think, because we're the home nation, we're like, we didn't want it to be awkward. We wanted it to be a Football Manager experience rather than just, here for us. So when they scored and you lot cheered, and like I almost joined the cheer, and it was like me and Matt was like, oh,
we were clapping away like
yes. Again, that's something you would never see me do at home, like celebrating the opposition scoring a goal. Never ever going to see me do that ever again. But
Taking all the
that was the
100K
thing.
on that.
Yeah, that's when we thought like, oh yes, this is great. So then when we equalised, we just had to go a
That
little bit
noise.
mental. Yeah,
When we scored the equaliser, the
That-
noise. I've never heard anything like that in person.
It
when
was
you are at the centre of it, it's
So yeah,
the
and it literally
weirdest thing.
tears as well. And then hearing the name, like your name being sung, that was just mental. That was mental.
So again, let's put some flesh on it. So knockout stages, semi-finals. We've gone from a save file to a draft. The
Yeah.
draft was done prior to us turning up for the broadcast at lunchtime. England, represented by Aaron and Matt. Indonesia, Germany, and South Africa.
Yeah.
4 nations who've been very, very good in the qualifiers. No one had got there by fluke. Like Indonesia rocked their group, Germany looked strong, South Africa looked strong, and of course you boys looked very strong as well. It was gonna be fun, right? 2-leg semi-finals. So you got drawn against Indonesia, which, I mean, Right, you know what? Even before we started, I said to Wyatt Callum, I sat next to Wyatt Callum and Breezy and Murph, and I said to Callum, I looked at the draw, went, "Ooh, they don't want that. They don't want that. They don't want that as the first one." Like, Indonesia was a tough old draw for that semi-final. There was no easy game in those, but Indonesia was like, ooh, maybe not. So 2-leg semi-final, and then a 2-legged final as well to decide who won.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk first of all about your draft strategy, and then talk about your opponents? Is that probably the way to do it? And then we'll talk about the final bits.
Yeah, so me and Matt didn't. I don't want to comment under like we was underprepared.
Tell him.
Like, I don't want to say we was underprepared because that's not an excuse. Like, we chose to. We kept saying it as well in the press conferences when they kept asking, like, we are going to keep doing from season 1. We are going to keep doing exactly what we've been doing. That's getting us through each day. We're not. The worst thing would have been get to the final. I did so similar to what Germany done, played a different tactic and then lose. If we done that and lost to Indonesia, I guarantee you we would have been home with huge regrets. So the plan was just to literally, we've already got our system in plan. Then when we're now drafting, we're gonna pick that draft and pick the players, perfectly suited for that system, and that was the plan. Like, there was no plan to switch it because now you're in draft mode, so we're now gonna. I know other people were thinking to do that, but we didn't, and I was quite happy that we didn't. This might be skipping ahead a little bit, but I only then watched the broadcast back, and I don't feel that it's weird. I feel that people made out the leg was more one-sided than it was, felt sort of thing. Like, the first leg was incredibly close. Like, if I'm in my most humble opinion, we should have won that game.
Yes.
And then the second leg, they started extremely well. And again, once we got back into that game, we deserved 2-3 more goals. Like, that goalkeeper easily could have been man of the match in both games quite easily.
Incredible. He was
so
incredible
that's
in both those games.
I did see a question. Sorry again if I'm jumping ahead. Where if there's any regrets, what would you have changed in the final? Absolutely nothing, because if we play those games again, we could go on and win those games. So yeah, it was sort of that. And when all 4 teams got past that group stage, we all was at the back. We was all saying the same thing. Boys, we've got to this point. We've all won. Like, Football Manager is now going to do whatever Football Manager wants. And I'll be real, I don't feel Football Manager actually threw anything crazy at us, like a red card or a silly penalty given away. It was, they took their chances. We couldn't score ours. Their goalkeeper was on form, but they picked a good goalkeeper. And that was their reward for picking that goalkeeper who, funny enough, we had for 3 seasons at Dynamo. Who was not doing that.
I think the goalkeeper was the difference maker, because he was incredible. Like, over those 2 matches, he saved God knows how many shots.
My only thing was when Matt said fresh legs in the second leg. That's where I could have changed the system then. I changed it possibly too late. Possibly, but even then, after we did that, they scored again. It felt that not in the second leg, it felt that the 2 goals in the first leg was against a run of play. And then when we pulled it back 2-1 in the second leg, their third goal again was against the run of play. That's how I felt when we was in the thing as well. But even watching their reaction when we were scoring and the game was playing, like, they weren't sitting there chilled. They weren't calm. Like, we had them changing things constantly. Like, you lot obviously saw it on the broadcast. They were stopping the game. At times, they were also underwhelmed. And they were chopping and changing things, and we forced that. And I don't feel other teams necessarily forced them to do that. So it could have been a great final, but yeah, funny. And when Germany were winning, me and Matt in the background was like, let's not get to
Well, this was going to be my point, because I think, like, to the untrained eye, okay. To the untrained eye, I think when people saw Indonesia, if you only just tuned in on the Sunday, you go Indonesia, England, Germany, South Africa. Right, well, Indonesia's the whipping boys here. No, not at all. These boys know what they're doing when it comes to draft mode. These boys know what they're doing. I
said this in the group stage as well.
To the FM community, they have crazy 100 people community drafts all over the place.
Yeah,
I did a save in Indonesia a couple of years ago. They were in the stream all the time. They're in YouTube videos all the time. They love FM. They love it. So when they came up, they came to win. Like they were like
Yeah.
yourselves. They were like, we're here to mean business. Tumney Ball, of course, our Indonesian friend who we love and respect so much. So shout out to Tumney Ball, by the way. Has sent you a message, of course he has, which I know
Yes.
you've already responded to on Twitter. It says, to RDF, what do you think made you lose to Indonesia in the semi-finals in terms of tactical approach? Obviously, we started talking about it. And are you tired of meeting Indonesian people after losing twice in a row?
It's crazy because honestly, no, like they're great opponents. They're so humble. And when you lose to them, it's like, I would hate to lose to me. Like sometimes the way I could be, I think I would hate to lose to me. But losing to them, it's just like, they're just so humble. Like this, they don't, it's not in your face sort of thing. And you're almost happy for them sort of thing. Like obviously you're gutted, you've just lost, but I don't know, there's something about them which is like, oh, fair play, we lost sort of thing. Like they're such great people, man. They're such
There's a
great people.
massive
I always want my
amount of-
revenge though, so when we drew them, my thing is like, I've lost to too many ball, like this is my revenge time. That was literally it. So it was great. But I did warn people in that group chat at the beginning, before anything's even kicked off, I said Malaysia and Indonesia, you have to watch out for these two. You have to.
Yeah, there's a massive amount of respect as well whenever they're players, isn't it? They respect their opponent a lot. Matt, the story I heard about the interpreter. Do you want to tell me about? Do you want to tell us about this?
So I assume this is the same story, and I assume this is the story about the fact that this particular lie went around the tournament, which was that one of the Indonesian players had only been playing for a year. And then in fact it actually was 20 years, but it was misreported heavily and then run with throughout the entire tournament. And did he correct anybody? Absolutely fucking not. Like, because why would you, right?
Why would you? Why would you? And you know what? That's not the story, actually.
Oh.
I heard a different story.
Yes.
about
Do go
the
on.
interpreter. So the interpreter, because we're presuming that obviously everyone's been selected by the FAs or has come through a qualification.
Oh, the uni student part.
Yeah. The guy who did not know the two competitors at all. Who answered a tweet on Wednesday morning as FIFA tweeted out going, does anybody in the local area speak Indonesian? And he's like, I've just finished an exam, I'll come and do it. He rocks up in a t-shirt and a pair of Converse. FIFA kit him out and go, you look a state, put this on. You're going to be an interpreter for the World Cup this weekend.
And then what did he say? He's like, 1 minute he was at uni, next minute he's taking pictures of John Terry's like, it's like, honestly, he had the same, it's the same feeling for all of us. Like, we generally walked in not knowing what was behind. There was legit curtains. And when the first day, you can't see what's behind those curtains. So we're literally walking not knowing what is behind those curtains. And yeah, that was just too funny. So yeah, we was leaving for the after party, right? And then I saw him and I was like, you coming after party? He's like, no. I was like, huh? Why? Who's not going to the after party? He's like, I'm not invited. That's why I was like, that makes no sense. How could you not? You're literally here. He's like, no, I'm not here. I'm not supposed to be here. So that's when he explained his thing. And then luckily, the England gaming manager gave him his wristband, which then gave him the invite to the thing. But yeah, that was just so baffling. He's like, no, I'm not invited to it. And I'm like, you've been here the whole time. You're here with like, no, I don't know them. I was like, what is happening right now? Now when I mean that every day was a movie, every day was legit a movie. It was a movie.
Oh mate, honestly, it was like, when I heard that story, I was like, "That's brilliant. That's so good." But we mentioned there about playing in front of a live audience. We mentioned about reacting to cheers and respect as well for Indonesia scoring as well. That as an audience member, right? Okay, as an audience member, because we're a live studio audience. That whole sort of sitcom thing, this following thing is recorded in front of a live studio audience. Like, so the floor manager's trying to like make sure that everyone's hyped up from an audience, which saying, well, look, you know, we're going to cut to this bit, we're going to cut to this bit. So when we want you to cheer, we want you to cheer, as in like sort of come back for sections, we're going to pass things over. So we're trying to do that to make it look like a TV show. When the game starts, we're just left to our own devices. And of course, the natural thing is you get drawn in. So of course, the second there's a goal goes in, we're like, get in! We've seen this on live. And obviously, you're our mates, so of course we're going to cheer for you as well to see you in the final. But it was that thing of nobody at any point thought, well, we're not cheering for the other team.
Yeah.
Like, it was just literally, we're here to make a spectacle. We're here to make the event. And there was talk of us having chance. There was talk. We tried. I was going to do the Poznan on my own at one point. But so that was good fun. That was good fun. So obviously, unfortunately, you didn't make it into the actual final itself. Indonesia played a really, really good game over the two legs and
over four legs.
Got through. Germany versus South Africa was the other semi-final. Very one-sided in the first leg as Germany steamrolled South Africa. No one saw that coming at all. That was like a 3-goal blitz in about 5 minutes, I think, and you could just see Enzo just looking, going, "What? I don't know. I don't know what's gone on." It was just one of those games. And then the second leg was like a bit more sort of like balanced. So they made a bit of a fist of it, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. And then Germany went into the final, and then it was Germany versus Indonesia in the final.
Yeah, there was.
Who wants to take it?
There was that feeling because obviously of the first leg, which by the way was a very difficult watch. Me and Matt was watching that at the back, and yeah, it was difficult watching that. But the fourth goal, was it that lob from the outside of the box?
The dink.
Because we're now chilling with the backroom stuff, and everyone's just gone.
The best part was, they cut to us watching it on the live feed.
We didn't know that.
No, because we are literally stood with the production staff and all the big monitors. We're literally leaning on a flight case with like a carton of water because we went to the catering table, saw Sam Allardyce, went, now we're going to go back and watch the match. And then we're watching it. And I see this guy out the corner of my eye, but I just assumed there's so many people walking around or whatever. But I was told later that guy was one of the camera guys that had like one of those big movable rigs. And he would happen to be filming us because we were watching the game. And yeah, apparently it just cut to us two backstage on the live feed when that fourth goal goes in, because we both like sort of walk away with our heads in our hands like, oh no, it's done. It's just crazy that they had that level of coverage to find us backstage and capture that moment. I need to find that on the live stream.
Yeah, I need to see that because I didn't know that happened at all. But I remember that goal went in and literally everyone just went, that noise is. But you mentioned one sec. Sorry. You mentioned Sam Allardyce. Shout out to them as well because it was weird that. So when we first saw John Terry, we also got the sense that he was nervous because again he got invited, not knowing what he's actually doing. So he was put in the same sort of position as us, but it wasn't like, I'm John Terry, and you lot are these gamers. It was just like they were just literally level talking. It was just honestly so weird. They were so happy to meet you, sort of thing. So that was quite an experience in itself as well.
Yeah, no, it was again watching on the Sunday. The analysis from John Terry was really good actually. It was really smart, trying to like apply real football logic, real football scenarios into FM logic. Was interesting to listen to, and obviously anytime Big Sam's there, it's an event, right? So we made sure we got our picture with Big Sam, and he will be on the podcast at some point. We hope. I mean, he's reposted you on Instagram, Aaron, and you didn't repost the FM show, so I already know that.
I literally again, that's one of the things. It was just like, well, what was it? What was that the place? I think we just come back from drinking or something. And I just looked at my phone and I said, "So I'm Allardyce reposted your thing." I was like, yeah, that's totally normal. Okay.
Just casually on Infantino's Instagram as well. Like, what?
Yeah,
just on the front of his story. It's like, what is this? And like when they came over and gave me these glasses. So at one point, I don't know if you saw this, Tony, I had a pair of live streaming glasses that I was wearing to watch Aaron and stuff. I was live streaming to 48 million followers on the FIFA World Cup's Instagram account. All I could hear in my headphones, or like through the glasses themselves, was like blip, 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 all the emojis going through while I'm just following Aaron around. It was the most surreal thing. And obviously Aaron wore them later when he did that press conference in them as well. It was the strangest thing that they just go, here you go, here's 48 million followers. Yeah. It's like, why did you trust me with those?
I think by then. So again, I don't want it to come across like an ego thing, but I think from day one, there was a bit of nerves in the place. Like there wasn't no one celebrating goals, and then I said, when we score our first goal, we're just gonna go mad or whatever. And then when we scored our first goal, we went absolute mental, and then that just kept happening. Like we just felt like we was in a stadium, and it was just the sort of thing to do. And then after a while, you start hearing Sue in the background, and vamos in the background. The place just started to go a bit hectic, but I do feel that a part of it, people just got a bit comfortable and confident in doing that. And then I think that's where the social media team was like, we're going to this team because they're very confident with the camera and they're saying yes to everything. They're like, they didn't even finish the sentence. Like, I'm getting my stuff off. Like, yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming. Yeah, they didn't even have to ask really. But that was for both of us as well, which that was amazing. Yeah, we was really trusted with the content there. Really trusted.
But again, I mean, like, you boys do this for a living. Like, stick a camera in front of your face. There's a good chance whatever you come out with is going to be usable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there is that. Whereas, of course, the flip side of that is that if you're putting your camera in the face of someone who doesn't do this for a living, you do potentially run the risk that whatever they come out with isn't going to be as good, as usable, as slick. Like, but we also then have to respect the fact that this was not just a tournament for streamers and creators,
Exactly.
which really showcased the wider FM community. We talk about the FM community as tend to think of it as a creator space, but the wider FM community, which of course we speak about on the podcast, which is everyone who just plays the game because it's FM and because they love it. They're not doing it to make videos, to stream, to do a podcast or do a blog. They're just doing it because they love it, and they've always loved it. And that, for me, was what I loved about the tournament itself, was that it showcased every level of your biggest YouTube, Twitch creators, your biggest influencers, your FIFA esports players who do a bit of FM, down to, you know, Johnny plays 1 season / 20 seasons actually when he really tells you the truth. You know, like, it's brilliant. Like, and I've really enjoyed going through the contestants and being like, you know, 1 million followers, 40,000 followers, 27 followers, and it's like 27 followers and you're in a FIFA World Cup tournament. This is brilliant. Like, this is what it's all about.
It leveled the playing field. It meant that followers were irrelevant because it didn't matter how many followers you had. Yeah, certain FAs had certain criteria that they were probably using to bring people in, but it didn't matter. Once we got there, it was nobody gave a shit. Like, we were not interested in how many followers other people had. I didn't ask, I didn't care, because they were people, right? In the same way that they shouldn't and didn't care about half of them didn't know who we were, because why would they, right? Why would they need to know who we are? We're just random people that play Football Manager just like they do. So it was like, I liked that. It wiped away all of that sort of stuff. At the end of the day, we were just 40 people that were there to play Football Manager and stuff like that. And I think there was a great vibe to that, really. I think you get to know these people over the course of a week. And yeah, some of them you become closer with than others. Like, we were very close with the Norwegians, for example, and the Lithuanians. But over the week, you just get more and more close with these guys, and the Indians as well. They're actually lovely guys as well. But and even with each other as well. Like, I went into the week having, you know, I've known Jack for about 10 years, but we're never super close, and same with Tom and Aaron. But I feel like I know them much better now, and we're friends now, actual friends. And I think there's something really nice about that, from just doing like group huddles to, I don't know if this has been talked about yet, but me and Aaron were on the roof deck one day, and Tom was quite literally guiding us through a meditation session up on the balcony. Nice. Like, doing the full-on focus on the breath stuff, and boy, does it work. Yes,
like I think Matt even tried to get out of it a little bit. It was like, someone equalises it. Just focus on the breathing.
Well, you mentioned there about the group huddles. That was something that we did see at the end, and that was the England gaming really did make a massive thing.
Fing said something about that, Dr. Benji,
huddles, and I really loved seeing that, because it wasn't just a, what's the word? It didn't feel like, we've just put this on and that's it. Yeah, it's not just for show.
Yeah,
you
it wasn't.
Tell it meant something to them, and they were like, "You've done us proud. You've done a great job. Like, this is fantastic." And it was not just you two and England Gaming. It was Tom and Jack was coming as well, and the creators that were associated with that. It was the team, and that was really, really lovely to see. I really did enjoy seeing that.
Yeah. So the plan, not to do that, but the plan was, when we go in, like, we are a team. Like, we are a team. If unfortunately one gets knocked out very early and the other still has a chance, then there's going to be a slight shift in focus, and obviously the other team. But when I mean the slight shift in focus, is they're also going to come along over to us and help us a little bit as well, as in, like, the community and the chat was doing. They're going to sort of do that as well, which did help. I mean, we then changed to a system that Work the Space was using. That's what I switched to. The set pieces as well came from Work the Space. So there was, again, when his team started to, let's say, fall behind or whatever it was, like there was a lot of help and a lot of focus and a lot of support on our side as well. Huge relief when we got through, because it obviously being the home nation, like we would like to say there was no pressure, but it would have been a bit if the semi-final and final there was no English teams sort of thing. So yeah, huge relief.
I think we also felt a sort of a sense of pressure, because being content creators, you do sometimes see things like, why are these people here? Why didn't England have open qualifiers?
Yeah.
We sort of felt the need to prove that we are actually quite good at this game sometimes.
Justify your existence.
Justify our existence. Because if we'd have gone in there as content creators or whatever, and then both of us finished fourth in our group, and not just fifth in our group. Sorry, Jack. By like comfortable margin. By like huge margins, we'd have looked ridiculous, right? But because we came in there and wasn't like that at all. Like Jack and Tom may have come fourth in their group, but it was by incredible pieces of horrendous RNG that went their way, those knockout games, and just horrendous luck. They were right there if they don't have things like that happening. They're doing the same thing as everybody else. They know all the tricks. They know how to play the game at that elite level. And we essentially just benefited from the other side of that coin, really. I just think that if we play that same Champions League run 20 times again, we lose it 19 more times. It's just FM felt that, you know, we just needed a bit of that day, and it just happened to give it to us that. And we played well to get that. It wasn't just pure luck. The buy-in game was, but everything else in there was Aaron's incredible defensive strategy setting up in those away games, frankly. Like beating Bayern 5-0 at half-time where we had 5 shots or whatever. That just doesn't happen. But the fact is, everything else in there was just incredible stuff. And I think there was a sort of sense of catharsis for us having managed to actually get to the final 4, because it was like, you know what, seriously, we do deserve to be here. This is why we're here. And maybe, you know, if there was open qualifiers, perhaps it could have done even better, but that's all ifs and buts right now. But we were just happy to sort of prove ourselves, I guess, right?
Yeah, definitely. It does make sense. Like they said, there is more pressure, as you say, with going in, you know, as a full-timer, you do have to justify your existence, because there's a lot of people saying, well, how come it was them? How come them? You know, why was there no qualifier? Sort of thing. But that's something we'll talk about that as part of the Patreon episode that'll come after this. But there is some questions that we'll sort of answer now that we've put out to Twitter and Discord, and then we'll wrap this episode up, and then we'll go into Patreon for some more thoughts. One question that's come out from FM Streamed on Twitter. They say, how important is it for the FM community as a whole to drive this on? What can the community do to feel it's being included and future esports events are available to all? Which I guess is kind of what we've just said there, really, that, yeah, it's good that it covered everybody, but, I mean, what can we do? It's not just for us to do, obviously, but, you know, like, thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, maybe from FIFA E's point of view, there could have been a little bit of more drive and, I don't know, leading up to it. Maybe not many people knew about it and that sort of stuff. So maybe from FIFA E's point of view, something could be done to get the community more involved. Maybe it could be getting the community to vote on certain challenges that is going to appear in the World Cup and that sort of thing. From England's point of view, it's difficult for me to comment on that, because every FAs have their own way of doing things, and for England to then change just for the football manager community might be a bit difficult for them. But I don't think in all the England's esports teams, I don't think there is that sort of qualification sort of thing, and we sort of got explained that beforehand as well, that we are chosen because of what we do and what we know sort of thing, rather than going through a qualification. If people agree with that or disagree with it, I don't know, but it's just the way that England do their things. So yeah, it is a difficult question, but I don't know, man.
I guess it's not one we can answer now because there's too many moving parts behind.
Yeah.
But Matt, like, if we take away the question of, if we ignore, you know, what can England gaming do, or what can the Scottish FA do, or the Welsh or Irish or any of the nationalities do, in that aspect, as a community, watching the draft scene there, the draft tournaments, there's been plenty of draft tournaments that have gone in the past, you know, the Streamer Showdown, the playoffs, the Super League, Road to Legends. There's been loads, community drafts here, there, and everywhere. What can the FM community do to build that? Is probably a different question. What can we do ourselves without the backing of FIFAe, without the backing of the FAs? we can build it ourselves a little bit, surely.
Yeah. It just has to be done in the right way, I think. I think it has to be... I think, this sounds strange coming from me, given what we've just been doing and how serious it was in many ways, but I think sometimes draft tournaments I've been a part of have often descended away from fun and more in towards winning, which is great and all. You want to win, but like at the end of the day, it's a game we're playing, and it is meant to be fun. So I feel like if we bring the fun back to draft tournaments again and remove that sense of like must win at all costs kind of, because maybe that's just not me not being a super competitive person, which is ironic given where we've just been, but I think that's what made some of my favourite moments with showdowns has been when things have just been pure fun, and it's made some crazy fun content. And I feel like a lot of the best moments we've had over this last week have not actually been about winning from a competitive standpoint. It's been about the fun we've had doing it and the funny things and the way that people have enjoyed us and the other competitors in this tournament. And I feel like bringing the fun back to drafts is going to help. But I can see already discussion on social media today, and I don't really look at social media very much, but today I have been, just because I've been sort of soaking it all in. The amount of discussion there's been about like, oh, we need to bring this draft back or this draft back, and everyone's sort of feeling it out again. There's been more interested in drafts right now than there has been for probably about a year and a half, and I feel like capitalising on that is actually probably quite important.
Yeah, definitely, and the fun element was definitely something that I tweeted out about as well, because being part of the team that was organising the playoffs, I did notice a shift in those tournaments, becoming people coming in going, oh, we need to win this, and it's like, why? Like, you win nothing. Like, you literally win nothing. Like you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself here to win nothing. Like, but it is all about having fun, and that did definitely come through. And I think we mentioned it earlier on in the show as well, to do that. And what I would say is I think that if there are people considering starting, if I use the word little, I don't mean that disparagingly, but like, organise your own little community draft. Like, just organise it. Get some people into a little Discord server. Get some people into a little group or whatever. Reach out to your friends. Organise these tournaments and just have fun doing it. Because there'll be a lot of people who've seen the FIFAe World Cup this weekend who've maybe never played against a human before, and it's such a different experience. And people will go into it going, I certainly did this by this. It's not just me throwing it out. Going in going, I've played this game for loads. I know what I'm doing. Second you play against someone and they do something different, you're like, I don't know why they've done that, and I don't know how to counteract it. So it's such a different way of playing the game, and you can get an extra bit of longevity out of the game doing that. I think to expand upon your point, Aaron, that you made about the advertisement side of things and being visible, yes, obviously with everything being announced very short notice, even we couldn't talk about it on the podcast. Like the little things like that going, we could have at least said, you're not going to believe this, Aaron's in the World Cup next week, and all of a sudden there's potentially another 50 people might come, can we get to the event? Like, it drives a bit more excitement. There's another 100 viewers watching. Those little things, because of the time restraints of when we record and when announcements have happened, of course, meant that wasn't a thing. But I mean, again, in the future, these are all it's extra lessons that will be learned as we go through, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But you should never know what their thinking was as well, because it's the first time that many things could go wrong. Let's say they pushed it out, they spent money on pushing it out, and things just unfortunately just went wrong. That could have also killed it. Like, it could have killed the future versions of it as well. I do feel like this was a bit of a, I don't want to say test run, because it's almost a bit disrespectful in the amount of work that they put in, but I do feel this was a let's put it out there sort of thing. Let's give it all and see how it goes. And it went extremely well. Extremely well.
Yeah, I think they've got to take the original blueprint. This is what we think it looks like. And then you evaluate it from there and go, all right, that works really, really well. That's brilliant. Oh, we can maybe do a little bit less of that. Oh, hey, we need to do a little bit more of this over here. Question for, I'm going to direct this to you, Matt. James R. Berryman on Twitter. How did you utilise your breaks? What did you get up to in between the hours of gameplay when you're not meditating and cramping up?
I think it's one of those things where you'd expect us, because at the end of the day, we're not likely to leave the arena and go do anything fancy, because in the first day we only had an hour. That was your break. Obviously, the second and third days, it was a lot more fluid, so we could kind of decide as and when we took our breaks and by how long. So obviously on the second day, second full day anyway, we took like an hour and a half. That was for sort of reasons that were semi-enforced, I suppose you could argue. But I felt we came back and definitely needed that. And on the third day, I mean, we could have taken even longer breaks on the third day if we wanted to, because we finished about an hour and a half, 2 hours before everyone else did, or everyone else in our group practically, because we just got through it so fast. But what we were doing in the breaks a lot of the time, I mean, sometimes it was a case of just getting food, unless it had mushrooms in it. Then sometimes it was it was mostly just a case of sat around upstairs in the players' lounge chatting to other people, or being, honestly, outside on the balcony smoking, or just connecting with other people a little bit. That's where we did most of the talking to the other competitors, during those break periods, where we'd be either sat around with each other discussing strategy a little bit, but most of the time we weren't really even talking about the save. In fact, I think a lot of the time it would almost stop the moment we left the arena. We'd go back upstairs and it would just be like normal time now. We'd get some drinks out the fridge, have some water, have some Coke or whatever, have a bit of a snack here or there. I'd eat a load of cake for lunch, and that was about it really. We would just focus on that. Sometimes check in with our representation and stuff like that, to make sure things are going all right, because again, man was doing an incredible job of just keeping us in check the whole time, making sure we were all right. He's the best advocate that any team I think could have asked for, honestly, over that period. So yeah, most of the time the breaks were just generally, it was very boring. It was just kind of be sat around talking to other competitors about Football Manager. Really, that's pretty much what it was.
Literally. This is the thing, isn't it? Like people think that showbiz is glamorous. It's not, is it? It's just sat in catering all the time. Just
literally.
It was. Literally.
We should say as well, by the way, that Matt's new diet book of eat cake and grow thin is definitely going to be coming out just in time for Christmas, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, I call it Eat, Bake, Love.
Aaron, question for you here from You Do 97. The question is to both of you, but I'm going to direct it to you first of all, because Matt's just answered the last one. What was it like going in from custom skins to vanilla? Any mistakes or unknown bits? How did you find that? Because we all use, or we very openly use customized skins. What was it like going back to the base skin?
I'm going to be real. I had no issues. But I had no issues. It was, I think probably Jack found it a bit more difficult. Because we've had this conversation before about using skins and stuff, and I really only use skins because people when I started using YouTube, everyone was like, change your skin, why not using a skin, change your skin. That is the only reason why I use a different skin. So I found it a bit refreshing, because I haven't seen it or used it a lot. I mean, it has its disadvantages. I mean, we was looking for things, but it was the skin that was showing us that sort of thing. So we did have a bit of that. But for me personally, I didn't find it an issue, to be fair. It was quite nice. It was quite nice for me. Yeah.
It's a bit of a change every now and again, isn't it? Change is nice.
I mean, obviously for Matt, it might be a bit different as well, but I'm not for one that needs graphics to play Football Manager sort of thing. So yeah, it wasn't too much for me.
Question that's going to tie in then with Matt a little bit. It's going to be about, we want to know, this is the People's Champ 78, when are Dynamo planning to get you over to Croatia?
We don't know, but we don't really know what the situation was, because it wasn't really explained to us exactly what the prize was. We just know that it was like, get to work with the club and do kind of cool stuff. We weren't even sure really if it was just the manager or if it was the manager and the assistant, but Aaron and I made sure that we got ourselves as familiar with the Dinamo rep Mate as physically possible. We went to KFC with him on Wednesday night.
So basically, we finished our session late, and I think this is one of the reasons for the rule change as well, of like the timing change, because then we couldn't eat our dinner because we were the last group, and so it was just me, Matt, and this Mate just walking around in the arena. Damn, we're hungry, and he's just like, should we go KFC? And me and Matt again just look at each other like, yeah, this is normal. Let's go KFC. And then again, he just had this conversation. We learned a lot about Dynamo and Croatia as well. And this is another thing as well. This is what, for me, makes our qualification to the semi-final even that more impressive, is because we all got that pep talk from him. We was all sort of in a group, so Group D, and then he was talking about Dynamo and how Dynamo are and how they operate, and then we just instantly like, screw meta, let's also involve what they actually do. So we just started playing like 16-year-old players that were just literally regions that just came through the youth product. Half of our transfers, or probably more than half of our transfers, were Croatian players. We brought back Modric, all players like Rocco Simic, and just many players. The centre backs were just finding on loan were Croatian. So a lot of our saves. So I remember just doing Champions League group, the registration, and we're like, we've got no issues here. We've seen other teams where it's just like ineligible, because they're not thinking about that. Whereas ours was like, man, we've got so many spots left over because that's how many homegrown players that we had. But speaking about Mate, yeah, so he actually gave me a call straight after we got knocked out, and yeah, he seemed pretty determined. So I feel, again, FM gods, like it just felt like they just gave us the right person, because he seemed very determined to get us down to Croatia. Again, he hasn't quite specific, like they haven't quite said what and who or whatever, but yeah, he's very determined to get us down into Croatia. So he said he's going to speak to the FA right away to get us to Croatia. So, I mean, the way he was talking, pretty soon, because he said it's unlikely to be a Champions League game, but it's going to be a league game very soon. So to him, it's going to be very soon. So make sure your passport's ready.
Awesome, man. Love it. You mentioned there your transfer policy, which was very much try and match what Dean will do.
Yeah.
Question in Discord from Captain Zeep. Do we think the transfer policy of loading all transfers into instalments should be reviewed in future events? Make it so instalments must end in the save time frame, or maybe some sort of point penalty for transfer debt at the end of the save. Who wants to address what Zeep means by that? Maybe some sort of maximum spend cap, possibly?
I wouldn't know.
Hi, Enzo.
No comment.
You didn't.
It's one of those things where, like, you have no choice. If everyone else is doing it, you either do it or you lose. So, and it is, weirdly, as much as it is an exploit of the game, obviously it's a skill. Like, it's a skill of knowing where that is, in the same way that the time management was a skill, knowing how to do contracts, knowing how to do tactics are skills. Like, those are all things that we brought to the table. And if you can't do them and don't do them, you are going to lose. And so, and I don't think that we really, compared to some other teams, used it that much, honestly. We used it a couple of times, particularly on Rocco Simic in that first season. Just
he must have hated me for doing it as well. So we done it on Rocco Simic, but I gave them 7 mil up front, which sort of defeats the whole purpose of doing that installment. But it was just like, this feels a bit weird, sort of thing.
Oh, it's done.
But when we did that and we signed him, like, we did feel a bit, but then we were like, what? We're at a disadvantage. Like, you don't go to a racing with bloody big Timberlands on while everyone's got running shoes on. Like, you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage if you don't use it. But there was one moment in the press conference where I was like, no, we're definitely using it tomorrow. Is when we heard that another team had Yamal Lamine. When we heard that, I was like, in the press conference, I was like, tomorrow we're definitely activating some
Look on my
crazy.
face in that press conference when they announced it.
And then what did we do? We still went and signed a free player and stuff. Like, we still couldn't help ourselves. Like,
didn't need it.
He's only £1 million. Like, this sounds good. Yeah, our football manager heads were still on, and I think that also shows our skills at the game, that we were still able to beat teams knowing they just spent a crazy amount in their save, whereas we spent 70 million on one thing, but then we made 50 mil, so it was like Dynamo only really spent 20 million, which is not a stretch to what actually happens in real life as well. So yeah, I felt pretty happy with what we did. I mean, we did use it on Onana. I'm gonna do it on Onana. Yeah.
At least you haven't bankrupt Brighton as a city, which I think was what Enzo managed to do. Was it 800 million in debt? I think they left them with.
Something like that. I think one team spent 1.5 bill.
Yeah. Oof.
Madness.
So yeah, my opinion on that is it's just similar to that, right? Like, I don't know, man. Like I've seen people play FIFA or EAFC, and it's that sort of thing. Like there's a thing called finesse shot, right, where people are using finesse shot from a crazy angle and distance, and they're just using it knowing it's a bit very unrealistic, but a high chance of the ball going in the net, so they do it. As much as I hate it, if I don't do that in the game, I'm at a disadvantage. And I don't know if it's a real skill to be using finesse shot, but it's just one of those things, innit? It's in the game. I mean, I think SI watching that might sort of try and clamp down on it a little bit, but it's one of those things. It's just, I said it in a press conference, right? Football Manager is typically a single player game, and you play the game in any way you want to play it. If that's what you're going to do, if that's what you want to do in an offline save, and it can happen, I mean, look at Chelsea, what Chelsea are doing, sort of, then why take it out of the game for people? I mean, they can put a limit on it. So the rumours, when we was talking as amongst participants, there was this thing, right? So if there's 3 seasons, then maybe cap it at 3 seasons. Like your installments, cap it at 3 seasons. That sort of makes more sense. But other than that, I wouldn't want Football Manager to really take it out of the game. Not that I'm going to use it, but other people, I mean, a 16, 15-year-old who just doesn't care about that sort of thing, why remove that away from them?
Yeah, that's true. Dave Zanetti in Discord has asked, was there any tactical surprise setups that you came across that you had to deal with? Apart from your own, obviously.
I think I saw my own tactic there, but no comment. No comment.
Yeah. What about, there was a lot of talk about the Indonesian boys winning with 4-2-3-1. And unfairly, I think, there's a few sort of remarks of going, 4-2-3-1's won again.
You know what I find funny? Do you know what I find funny? When we was leading up to the tournament, what was everyone saying? Oh, I bet everyone uses a 4-2-4. It's funny how they move the goalposts, ain't it?
Yeah,
it is funny how they move the goalposts. What do people expect? If you watch the Premier League on the weekend, do count someone. Please count how many teams use a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3. Then come back to us and tell us that we're overusing it. We're not. It's literally the meta in real life football. Football Manager's a simulation. I've never understood that thing. And again, if you are a skilled manager at Football Manager and you're up against it, then there are ways that you can stop it. Indonesia stopped us. We played really good against them. We know that you can beat that system. They also proved it by beating us.
This is the thing. It's shapes, isn't it? So take a 4-2-3-1 as a shape. The rules can be different, and it becomes something different. Like it's your starting
how you want to play exactly.
Shape.
They used underlaps, and I know they're using underlaps, and it was very. That's what initially hurt us. I saw it with their centre back just making a mad run. I think it was for the first goal. Nicholas Sule,
he ran from the halfway line,
making a mad run, and it's one of those things. I spotted that.
Crazy.
Now, am I going to complain? Oh, it's that bloody underlaps overpowered. No, there's ways to stop that. I didn't manage to stop it. Fair play to Indonesia, but there's ways to stop that. Like I don't really understand that argument. If I'm totally honest with you.
But you know what it's like, Aaron. People just like to complain. That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think they just want to see this. Oh, look, Jose Mourinho 5-2-3, blah 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 blah. But the thing, if we used that and we got knocked out, then another argument would have been, see, this is what happens when you put content creators there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I did think I'm sure Germany had the 5-2-3 at one point as well. I think they went
which is also in the drafting world known as a tactic, a go-to tactic in the drafting world. So. So really, Indonesia proved that actually not using the meta in the drafting mode can get you far as well. Ouch! I just kicked something under the table.
Yeah, you kick things. That's fine.
I don't have my Hyundai. I don't have it, man. Man, I'm lost without it.
It's all fine. It's all fine. Ask the question here from Murph, because I know he's going to want it asking. Who made the final call on Tammy? He was amazing in FM23, bit woeful for most in FM24.
I think we're both kind of culpable for that one, really, because you went Tammy and I went, yeah. I think we were both just playing FM22 in our heads.
Yeah. Literally,
I was still stuck in Showdown.
Yeah, in my head, I picked up. I was like, "Ooh, Leluja's gonna be happy with this."
I was like, "Oh, Clates are like this."
And then I wasn't quite sure if you're allowed to say "big meaty men" on TV.
I'm sure you can say it. It's totally fine.
So yeah, that was my call. And again, this is another thing that I don't regret. I've had Tammy in FM24, and he's been great for me as well. My Roma save, right? I was Roma. He was great for me at Roma. So again, no regrets. My only criticism of myself is not using Omega earlier. That's probably the only thing, yeah. So no regrets over picking Tammy, but yeah, my bad. My bad, people, my bad.
That's fine. Again, everyone's got an opinion. So, I think we can leave that there for the public. I think that's been a good episode, giving a really, really great insight into how the FIFAe World Cup with Football Manager works, some of the experiences. I think what we'll do now is we'll probably lock the cameras off. We'll go Patreon. We'll record some extra content, which will cover some more things, some more thoughts about what you think might happen in the future. Or we'll just get a bit loose and get a bit silly. Either way, we'll do that. But, Matt, do us a favour. Tell people where they can find you. Plug yourself, please.
You know where to find me. You can find me on Twitch and the YouTube at Second Yellow Card on both of those, and on X/Twitter/ whatever they call it these days at Second Yellow Card without the A because character limits. And I guess on TikTok as well. Maybe I'll post there at some point. And on Instagram. I've been posting things today. I've been trying to do more of the Instagram stuff there. Look at me go. I was looking through pictures before today's podcast recording. I was getting all teary-eyed looking at all the lovely pictures. Man. It was nice.
Yeah,
you can find me crying. More. There you go. So you can find
me crying on Instagram. There we go. I love that. Yeah, I'm trying to get more Instagram stuff going on as well. TikTok as well. We're pushing. We might get the login for Instagram for the podcast at some point. We don't know. We'll find out.
It's still definitely there. It's definitely in that group document.
Is it definitely that password thing?
Definitely a document.
Okay, someone needs to log into it then. Right, Aaron, we are going to go to Patreon. Tell people where they can find Patreon if they want to be part of it.
They can find us at patreon.com/the FM Show Pod. That's patreon.com/the FM Show Pod, where you can support us from as little as £3. Or if you're a bit skeptical, even though you shouldn't be, you can also sign up for a free trial and see how you feel. So make sure you head over to patreon.com/the FM Show Pod.
Perfect. Genuinely perfect. Perfect.
I'll come back as a new man.
And I do also need to say as well, we've got some live show tickets available. Links are in the description below. We're going to Birmingham and we're going to Nottingham. 27th of October for Birmingham, 4th of November for Nottingham, and we are working on some extra dates as well. So do come and see us live and have a pint of hooch with us afterwards. Right, we're going to lock this down. Hope you all enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves. Matt, thank you for coming on. Aaron, a pleasure as always. Everybody, we'll see you on the next one. All the best. Take care. Bye now.